A pleasant day to all. This is Camille A. Gadingan, a second-year BS Ed English student of Negros Oriental State University, Shatin Campus, your discussant for today. For today's discussion, we will be talking about Piaget's theory. But first, do you know what theory he has developed? Well, let's find it out. Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Before we jump into our main discussion for today, let us know first its objectives. By the end of this lesson, learners are able to identify the 4 stages of cognitive development, understand the major characteristics and developmental changes, and appreciate the children's development in every stages. The specific topics to be covered in this lesson are the following: Jean Piaget's background, meaning of cognition and cognitive development, stages of cognitive development, and developmental changes. Now, who is Jean Piaget? Jean Piaget was born on August 9, 1896 at Neuchâtel, Switzerland. He is a Swiss psychologist who was the first to make a systematic study of the acquisition of understanding in children. In 1918, he earned his doctoral degree. In 1919, he started to study language development in children. In 1921, he started working in child psychology. In 1922, he met and married Valentine Châtenay. In 1925, 1927, and 1931, he had his 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. Sadly, in 1980, he passed away at the age of 84. To be able to understand his theory, let us unlock first the terms cognition and cognitive development. Cognition is a mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. It encompasses various aspects of high-level intellectual functions and processes such as attention, memory, knowledge, decision-making, planning, reasoning, judgment, perception, comprehension, language, and visuospatial function. Now, what is cognitive development? According to Dodge et al. 2010, cognitive development refers to the mind and how it works. It involves how children think, how they see the world, and how they use what they learn. We know that who children become has everything to do with their experiences they have early in their lives, the experience they have while they are in your care. Outside of their families, you might be the person they spend the most time with during these critical years of development, so it is important to understand the foundation of cognitive development. In Piaget's view, early cognitive development involves processes based upon actions and later progresses to changes in mental operations. Through his observations of his children, Piaget developed a stage theory of intellectual development, which is called the 4 stages of cognitive development. Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development suggests that children move through 4 different stages of mental development. His theory focuses not only on understanding how children acquire knowledge, but also on understanding the nature of intelligence. The 4 stages are sensory-motor stage, preoperational stage, concrete operational stage, and formal operational stage. The sensory-motor stage is the first stage of a child's life according to Jean Piaget's theory of child development. It begins at birth and lasts through age 2. At this stage, the major characteristics and developmental changes are the following. The infant knows the world through their movements and sensations. Children learn about the world through basic actions such as sucking, grasping, looking, and listening. Infants learn that things continue to exist even though they cannot be seen or object permanence. They are separate beings from the people and objects around them, and they realize that their actions can cause things to happen in the world around them. During this period, the little one learns about the world by using their senses to interact with their surroundings. Children not only learn how to perform physical actions such as crawling and walking, they also learn a great deal about language from the people with whom they interact. As kids interact with their environment, they are continually making new discoveries about how the world works. Piaget believed that developing object permanence or object constancy, the understanding that objects continue to exist even when they cannot be seen, was an important element at this point of development. The preoperational stage is the second stage in Piaget's theory of cognitive development. This stage begins around age 2 and lasts until approximately age 7. The major characteristics and developmental changes are: children begin to think symbolically and learn to use words and pictures to represent objects. Children at this stage tend to be egocentric and struggle to see things from the perspective of others. While they are getting better with language and thinking, they still tend to think about things in very concrete terms. At this stage, kids learn through pretend play but still struggle with logic and taking the point of view of other people. They also often struggle with understanding the idea of constancy. For example, a researcher might take a lump of clay, divide it into two equal pieces, and then give a child the choice between two pieces of clay to play with. One piece of clay is rolled into a compact ball while the other is smashed into a flat pancake shape. Since the compact ball looks larger, the pre-operational child will likely choose that piece even though the two pieces are exactly the same size. Children become much more skilled at pretend play during this stage of development, yet continue to think very concretely about the world around them. The concrete operational stage is the third stage in Piaget's theory of cognitive development. This period lasts around 7 to 11 years of age and is characterized by the development of organized and rational thinking. The major characteristics and developmental changes during this stage: children begin to thinking logically about concrete events. They begin to understand the concept of conservation, that the amount of liquid in a short, wide cup is equal to that in a tall, skinny glass, for example. The thinking becomes more logical and organized, but still very concrete. Children begin using inductive logic or reasoning from specific information to a general principle. While children are still very concrete and literal in their thinking at this point in development, they become much more adept at using logic. During this stage, children also become less egocentric and begin to think about how other people might think and feel. Kids in the concrete operational stage also begin to understand that their thoughts are unique to them and that not everyone else necessarily shares their thoughts, feelings, and opinions. While thinking becomes much more logical during the concrete operational state, it can also be very rigid. Kids at this point in development tend to struggle with abstract and hypothetical concepts. The formal operational stage is the final stage of Piaget's theory, which involves an increase in logic, the ability to use deductive reasoning, and an understanding of abstract ideas. At this point, people become capable of seeing multiple potential solutions to problems and think more scientifically about the world around them. The major characteristics and developmental changes that occur in this stage: the adolescent or young adult begins to think abstractly and reason about hypothetical problems. Abstract thought emerges. teens begin to think more about moral, philosophical, ethical, social, and political issues that require theoretical and abstract reasoning. Begin to use deductive logic or reasoning from a general principle to specific information. The ability to thinking about abstract ideas and situations is the key hallmark of the formal operational stage of cognitive development. The ability to systematically plan for the future and reason about hypothetical situations are also critical abilities that emerge during this stage. It is important to note that Piaget did not view children's intellectual development as a quantitative process. That is, kids do not just add more information and knowledge to their existing knowledge as they get older. Instead, Piaget suggested that there is a qualitative change in how children think as they gradually process through these four stages. A child at age 7 doesn't just have more information about the world than he did at age 2. There is a fundamental change in how he thinks about the world. To end this lesson, I would like to leave you a quote by Jean Piaget in relation to his theory of cognitive development. It is with children that we have the best chance of studying the development of logical knowledge, mathematical knowledge, physical knowledge, and so forth. So that would be all for today, and I do hope that you learned something from this video. Thank you and stay safe!